you were to take about 100 people and put them in one room and then ask a question, how many of you like animals? Well, probably 3/4 of those people would move to one side and say that they like animals. And there'd be about 25% of them that wouldn't. You would banish them forever. They would leave the building. Then you would ask them, how many of you prefer animals over people? The room would clear out pretty good, and the amount of people that would prefer people over animals would be the majority. And then you'd be left with a few. And if you ask those few, do you prefer living alone with animals rather than having any people? Then it would really, you might have 3 or 4 people. I would be one of those 3 or 4 people. Yep. Proud to say it too. I'm an introvert. I have never been comfortable in any social situation, but I'm very comfortable around dogs and any kind of animal. I mean, my dream job that I had was working at the ranch. I had mules, I had horses, I had cattle, lots of chickens. There were dogs. I had a dozen dogs that would follow me around all day long, and it was great. And I kind of live, and that's how I live. I am surrounded by my dogs. I've got my chickens. If it wasn't so much work, I'd probably have more animals. So where's my coffee? Oh. Yeah. So let's talk about why that is. Because I was not raised around animals. We had one cat. That cat lived most of my life while I was at home. I think I was 7 years old when we got the cat. And the cat lived until I was almost 30. Of course, I wasn't at home at 30. And no dogs. I think we tried once when I was real small. It didn't work out. And I really didn't have a dog until I was probably 35 years old. But I always wanted one. It just, life situations did not allow for it. I moved around a lot. And I ended up getting, the way I ended up getting my first 2 dogs, I was working for the Des Moines Register. And there was a bunch of us that came from the Denver Post. They were putting in a new press at the Des Moines Register. And, you know, don't know why we made that move, but there was about 5 or 6 of us that went to Des Moines. And one of them, he didn't like it. He wanted to go back to Denver. And he had a house rented in the country. And he had a German Shepherd and a Chocolate Lab. And so he said, and I rented that house that he was in. And he said, can we leave the dogs here and then come back and get them later? I said, no problem. Well, he never came back. And so I ended up with those dogs. Oh, I loved them. That German Shepherd was smart as a whip. Chocolate Lab, I mean, if you've ever been around a Chocolate Lab, they're great. And I ended up moving, took a job in Kentucky, ended up moving there, and I took the dogs with me. And then I ended up moving again to Minnesota to work for the Pioneer Press in St. Paul, and I couldn't bring them there. It was the only time I've ever, and that kind of bothered, I mean, that really bothered me. But I left them with a good friend. They ended up having a good country life. So I knew where they were, and I knew who they were with. So that worked out. But those dogs loved me, and I loved them, and that was very hard to do. And so when I got this place, I said, they're going to have a life. You know, if I take any animal in, they're going to have a life. They're gonna die here. Okay, they're gonna have a forever life, forever home. Something in my eye, guys. And that's what I've done. And I would not have it any other way. Like I said, I don't like parties and social events. Maybe that's why I drank when I used to drink, was to deal with some of those things. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like that. But like I said, I was not raised around animals. We did not grow up on a farm or in the country. We lived in the suburbs with just a cat. But I could go see a horse or a cow within a few miles of anywhere we lived, usually. And, it's like anytime I go to somebody's place or anywhere there's a dog, the first thing I do, probably before I even greet the human, is go pet the dog and talk to the dog. I had an opportunity in 2016 to run the local dog pound here. We turned it into a no-kill shelter. We would send these dogs up north where they don't have a lot of dogs to choose from because they have spay and neuter laws. So you would see animals come in there just terrified of human beings. And I was very good at making those animals trust a human again. And I would not, a lot of the locals wanted to come in and adopt them dogs, and I would not let that happen because there are so many around here that are, running around loose. And, I don't want to put them back in that situation ever again. And we would get stories from the families that they were placed with up in Minnesota or wherever they went. They went to different states. And they always went to good homes. So I made sure that I didn't adopt them out locally, especially the younger people, because younger people are more unstable with their housing situations. You don't want to do that. It would be very rare if I would let a young person have a dog, because I remember back, with the German Shepherd and the Chocolate Lab, that something happened and I had to move and take a new job, and I couldn't take them with me. And I never want to do that again, because that would be like, to me, it's like giving up your kid, Oh, it is nice and foggy and cool out this morning. That is good coffee. All right, what is going on back here? Speaking of dogs, something's being chewed up. You never know. You never know what they're going to do. So I had a few situations at the shelter. There was a Siberian Husky. I named her Reba. Very skittish of people. Very skittish. If you know anything about Siberian Huskies, they're very talkative. And she would sit there, and I'd move my desk right next to her kennel. And I'd take her out for walks every day. And man, did she turn into one of the best dogs ever. And all you have to do is spend a little time with them. I would do that each day. I would go into each kennel. And a lot of these dogs were terrified of human beings. It was terrible to see. It was very hard to do. But I would spend time with them each day, let them know that I wasn't there to hurt them. And they would come around. I had one in particular, I named him Grumpy. He had bit somebody. He was a Shar-Pei. Beautiful dog. He came in and he was just vicious. He would just charge at the kennel gate when you stood there. And what I did is I took a chair, I placed it right in front of his kennel, and every day, and this only took 3 days, every day I would go sit there for an hour at a time, half hour at a time, 10 minutes at a time, and just talk to him. I brought him a bed, put a bed in there for him, give him, you gotta give a dog a lot of treats. That's one way to their heart, is through their belly. Just kind of like me, I guess. And eventually, he came around. And he came around so much that I could let him be around other people. And I didn't think there was any hope for him. I've had puppies come in that were terrified, that would just stay under their beds. They would not come out. And you just got to go in there. Sometimes you just go in there and sit on the floor. They don't even come out, but they know you're in there. And then eventually they will work their way towards you, and then you got them. It's not hard. And dogs, no matter how traumatic of an experience they've had, you can usually pull them out of it. Now, Millie, if you've watched my videos a while, you remember when Millie showed up here. Millie has been around the area for several years before she came to me. She was abandoned. I know the whole story on that. In fact, I have a video on that. And still to this day, if I raise my arm real fast or something, she jumps back. Although I've never hit her, somebody has in the past. And that's terrible. And I have never hit an animal in my life unless my life depended on it. If I was being attacked, which only happened one time, and it was my own dog, there's a video on that. But it wasn't a hit. It was just to defend myself. Okay? And the dog did not get hurt. But people hit them like they're, like it's nothing. People are just violent sometimes towards animals. And animals know those kind of people. They know. They will steer clear of those kind of people. They will avoid them like the plague. To me, that's a good way to judge somebody. Not that I judge people, but if an animal doesn't like them, they got issues. There's usually something wrong with that person. Now, there's people that just are not animal lovers, okay? My parents aren't crazy about animals. They're like I said, we have one cat, but they're not big fans of dogs. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they're different than me. Some people have that in them, some people don't. In my family, both my brothers, they're dog lovers. My youngest brother, he's got rescue horses. When he lived here for a short time, he had a whole pack of dogs, as much as I did. I have, I have an aunt that's that way, and an aunt that's no longer with us that was that exactly like me. Had to have the country place, all the animals. So it's really, I don't know if it's inherited. You know what I'm trying to say. Or it's just in our DNA. It's not in everybody's DNA. Not everybody can deal with it. And for me, it's easy, and it gives me satisfaction. Man, you've seen them movies where the guy is the last man on earth. The whole world is gone. All the people are gone. Those are my favorite kind of movies, because that would not bother me a bit. As long as the animals stayed, that would not bother me a bit. It's not that I hate people. I'm just not comfortable around them. I know it seems kind of weird. Here I am doing YouTubes, putting videos out to people, but I ain't got to look at you, do I? Nope. But you guys are great. I'm glad you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, do it. And let me get another sip of coffee. It's going to be a beautiful day. Yeah. Happy trails.